So, for the sake of transparency and juiciness on the first
Yeah.
episode of the pod, what
No.
do you charge for a story set?
What do I charge for a story set? Okay, so a story set, 3 to 5 stories. Why do I feel so nervous about saying this number? Okay, I charge.
This is the Good Influencer Podcast with Julia Markham and Becca McLeod, pulling back the curtain of how this multi-billion-dollar industry works. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.
Welcome, everyone, to our very first Good Influencer Podcast. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling a little rusty, but this is like new format. I haven't done a podcast. I couldn't even remember the year when I ended my old podcast. And then I went to the podcast thing and I was like trying to find it and it's gone. So it's been like a decade, I think.
Hey, no time like the present.
No time like the present. I'm Julia Markham.
I'm Becca.
And we are going to talk about everything to do with being an influencer. I've been an influencer. Guess what? I just passed my 16-year anniversary.
It's a huge milestone. And how much, social media has just changed so much in the last 16 years.
I know. I honestly don't even know if the first 6 years counts because I started in 2009 and then like I didn't start earning money until 2015. And so when people were like, oh, you're so lucky you got an early start. I'm like, guys, I worked for free for 6 years. Is that lucky?
People are monetizing from day one now.
I know. And so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about monetizing. We're going to be talking about making money doing this. And I'm going to really be sharing all the details about how you do not have to wait 6 years before you can earn your first dime. In fact,
thank goodness.
Becca, as the manager of Good Influencer, how long do you think realistically someone can be doing this before they make their first paycheck?
The need to wait, there's no need to wait at this point, especially with affiliate programs. You can start making money from day one. Are you going to have these crazy high 6-figure affiliate earnings? No. But if you're going to be sharing links, it's worth it to get a little bit of a kickback. And so I say start from day one. Get on Amazon Associates from day one and then work your way up into different affiliate platforms. Surely by the time you have 1,000 followers, you're monetizing at least the links you're sharing.
And I feel like my mom has 1,000 followers. So, but I feel like we're getting a little into the weeds. Ginger, I feel like we're getting a little into the weeds. Let's back up and give us some news of the week.
It's been all over the news lately, this big, Poppy's sending out these vending machine PR packages to influencers, delivering these massive vending machines with their product. And it really poses the question of, are these big PR campaigns necessary? You've received a lot of these big, Amazon will send luggage full of products.
Yes. I forget what movie that was for, but I did receive, you know what it was for? I think for the Cinderella movie on Amazon, like when the Camila Cabello Cinderella movie on Amazon came out, I received a PR box from Amazon. I think this was the one that had a piece of luggage in it. And then inside was custom like glass slipper tennis shoes for each of my girls and snacks. It was like overwhelming. Did we watch the movie? Yes. I don't know how I don't even know how I got on these lists, but it is fun to get these PR boxes for the most part. But for you to ask, like, is this necessary? And for, like, the general population to be in an uproar of, like, Poppy sending out these really expensive vending machines that I believe they then collected back again. None of it's necessary. This is a part of their marketing strategy. And guess what? Everyone talked about them.
People only talked about them more because of the scandal around it.
Yes, I don't think they went into that marketing strategy thinking we're going for bad press, but they got a lot of bad press. And truthfully, everyone was still talking about them all Super Bowl weekend. Everyone was talking about Poppy. And some of these PR boxes, they are extravagant. And I get what people are saying, like, oh, you should give it to non-influencers. I don't know what the marketing strategy of that would be, just because they can't expect anything from that.
Right. It's like a giveaway. Like they do giveaways, but with a marketing budget, they want to take it as far as they can and get as much buzz as they possibly can. And so sending that to somebody without necessarily knowing there's going to be some sort of return of exposure, it's risky. It's risky to put your marketing budget into that.
Honestly, there's even so much more attached to these PR boxes that I think brands are going to have to start rethinking a lot of the strategy because, the FTC updated that there's a lot attached to receiving an unsolicited gift from a brand, where even if it's unsolicited, I still have to say, oh, this company sent this to me and this is what it is. And that's like, okay, this feels like so sponsored now, but I didn't even ask for it.
I know. There's going to be disclosures attached to it, meaning it's going to come across to your followers as sponsored.
And I wonder, okay, let's go back to the PR box for that Cinderella movie. Even if I watched the Cinderella movie and I didn't show any of the gift, I kind of feel like I would be obligated to say I'm somehow now connected to this movie, even if I never asked to be, because I was sent something to promote it. And now if I share that in my stories, I don't know, it's so tricky. And I always just want to cover my bases.
Yeah. It's going to change the game. Do you get a lot of unsolicited PR, or for the most part, are these brand managers reaching out and asking permission to send something to you?
Do I get a lot of unsolicited PR packages? I would say a couple times a month. Is that a lot? I don't feel like that's a lot. I know some people get it like every day.
They have piles.
They have piles. Anytime someone asks if they can send me something, and this was pre-FTC guideline updates, let me be clear. Anytime anyone asks to send me something, I always say, I want to get the exact wording right. Okay, so this is what we say to the brands, and my brand manager just gave this to me. This is what we say to brands when they ask if they can send us something for free. We respond, you're welcome to send along the X for consideration. We do not accept paid mentions in our product. Oh, this is like if they were sending it for a product test. Okay. We do not accept product for promotion. So inclusion in this, or to send this to us, anytime we include it in any story, it's going to be organic, authentic, and at our discretion. So you're welcome to send along blank. We do not accept product for promotion. So any mention of this will be organic, authentic, and at our discretion, period. Now, when they send it, do I still get an immediate follow-up message? Did you receive that? And I'm like, yeah, I did. And they're like, are you going to post about it? And I'm like, I don't know yet. But honestly, we do all of this to protect our audiences. Like, my loyalty is to my audience. I spent 16 years building their trust. I'm not going to throw it away for a free spice rack, a free piece of luggage. Like, my audience means so much more to me than a free product. And I think that's the message that I wish other influencers understood when they're accepting free product for promotion, one, you don't even know if you're going to like it. And so signing a contract that says you'll promote it before you even have it in your hands, like that's something I never ever do. Don't recommend doing. Always say, give yourself time to test it out. And then think about your audience. Are they going to believe you? Do you believe yourself? Is this something that you have such a vested interest in that you're accepting a free piece of luggage in return for tying yourself to this company that you don't even know? So we no longer do product for promotion. And sponsors, we handle differently there, but we still always make sure that we have experience with the product before we say anything about it.
The mastermind is a huge part of our Good Influencer program, which I manage. And we have, with the subscription, you get our set of courses, and you also get access to our mastermind Facebook group, which is a continuous forum full of thousands of influencers asking questions. They'll share their contracts and ask what certain terminology means. They'll say, hey, I posted this, it didn't go well. Do you have any feedback on why maybe this tanked with my audience? And there's so much collaboration going with influencers, helping influencers. And one thing I see pretty often is influencers just starting out will do these product trades. They'll sign on with brands to post about this product in exchange for certain deliverables with this brand. And they get the product in and they don't like it, or the quality of it isn't what they expected. Is it okay to then go to the brand and say, give your true feelings? Have you ever had to do something like that?
Oh my goodness. Like, absolutely. You have no other choice but to go back to the brand and say, hey, I tried this product. We had one experience. It was with a vacuum that also washed a floor at the same time. And I'm not going to mention anyone's brand, because this is what I will say, and this is something that we've built our brand working with other brands on, is I'm not going to bash another brand on Instagram or on social media. I'm just not going to do it. But I'm also just not going to say anything. And so if a sponsor, this mop vacuum, and it's not who you think, so get that out of your head.
Don't get any ideas.
Don't get any ideas. I don't think you've heard of them. But this was years ago, and I remember they sent us it. We signed a contract. We used it, and I was like, I would never... It wasn't even that it didn't work. I was just like, I would never go for this. Like, it grossed me out to the point where I'm like, this is like hair and kids cereal and water, and I'm seeing everything. It had like a clear front, and I'm just like, I just would never do this. I'm like, I would sweep, vacuum, and then wash my floor. I don't want to do it all at the same time.
No, I don't need to see that side of my home.
I don't need to see it. And I went back to the brand and I was like, hey, real talk, like, this is not for me. And I know we have a contract. I would rather not say anything about your brand, and just not use it. And I'll return it if you'd like. Obviously, they didn't make me return it. But we just got out of the contract. And so when people say, like, what do I do if I don't like the product and I already signed the contract? I guarantee the brand's going to be so much more happy if you go back to them and say, this was my experience, than moving forward and, again, like, deceiving your audience into thinking that you love something that you don't.
Right. Well, this is honestly kind of a great segue, because when we were discussing what we were going to talk about on the very first episode of the podcast, there's a lot of pressure there. But I mean, probably the most taboo topic in the world of influencer marketing is rates. And the fact that there's not a lot of transparency there, but a lot of influencers aren't getting paid enough. They're not getting paid their fair share.
They're not getting paid. Some of them aren't even getting paid.
$0. They're not getting paid, period.
0. Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah. For 6 years. So when did you finally set your rates? Like what happened that made you think, okay, no, now I need to start making money from this?
Chris and I were just having this conversation 2 nights ago. I actually secretly recorded it on my phone because he very rarely kind of talks numbers. It's with me. We're talking, we don't talk about history a lot. We don't talk about the past. We talk about the present a lot. And he was the other night, he, tracks every cent that we earn every day in a spreadsheet. And he has since 2015, when I made a total of $11,000 in 2015. And what I caught him saying on camera was, why in the world was I tracking that on April 6th in 2011? We made 75 cents off of Amazon. Why was I tracking that? What made me track that? Because it doesn't make any sense. And yet we're so glad that we have that history of okay, on this day, over a whole year making $11,000. Some days you're making, a couple dollars, and we tracked it every single day. And what's even more delusional is if I made $11,000 in 2015 and in 2016 he quit his job. We were so delusional, and it all worked out. And I think that it came down to us seeing there is potential here, and us getting on the same page, and us realizing that we have something really valuable to offer here. Immediately, we started in 2015. We had even more than setting our rates. We had a mind shift change where this is not us pretending like we have some sort of audience. We have an audience. We have followers. We have readers. We have people that are tuning in to whatever we're sharing every single day. And we started saying, thinking okay, we have basically the equivalent of a television network here. We are producing content. We're writing the content. We're producing the content. We have video. We have photos. And like every TV channel out there, or even streaming service now, because I feel like social media is a lot like streaming, there's going to be ads. And when we started comparing our audience, which in 2015 to 2016, we grew from about 50,000 followers to 100,000 followers. And engagement back then was unbelievable.
The good old days.
The good old days. We're talking 90% engagement. It's like everyone saw everything you posted. And we started putting together a humble rate card, a humble media kit. And it was such a taboo topic that I felt like I had no one else to talk about this with. What are you charging? Hey, what are you charging? And there was just no one to talk about it with. And so I was kind of in the dark when I made my rate card. And I feel like I remember setting a rate, and then immediately all the companies were like, yeah, sure. I think it was $250. And then I was talking to a friend, and I candidly asked, what do you think of this rate? And she, who had less followers than me, she was kind of like, oh my gosh, you need to at least double it. And so like we doubled it and we were still booking everything. And then we doubled it again and we were still booking everything out 3 months. And that's when I hired actually, well, it wasn't even at this point, but basically in 2019, so fast forward 3 years, and I started charging like $6,000 for a blog post, which seemed crazy in 2019. And I was still hearing like, that's not enough. That's not enough. I feel like there's a balance, right? Like you want to charge enough that you cover your costs, you're making money, you are not being taken advantage of. I always encourage influencers, like if you're not charging enough, it actually hurts all other influencers because the content that is being created, that we have to like set a standard, which is why I started Good Influencer in the first place. You don't want to charge too much and you can't give this company a return on their investment because they're going to be looking at that. And I can tell you so much, and I'm sure we'll have a whole episode on what brands expect on their investment or their sponsorship rate. Like, what do they expect in return? Because we have those numbers. Like, these big companies, they will tell you like, okay, we need to make 3x what we're paying you. We need to make 20x what we're paying you. And if that feels like too heavy for you, then you're charging too much. Now, on the other hand, if you're charging too little, you're going to be booked out too far and you're going to be taking on too much and you're not going to be able to keep up with your organic content. So the balance came to us when we realized, okay, one, we have repeat sponsors, which means they are happy with the return on their sponsorship investment. That's key number one. They're happy because they're booking it again. Two, our sponsorship slots are filled. Now, we don't take sponsorship slots every day. We could, but we've limited it to a max of like 3 a week. I think we're at like 2 point something a week average for the year, which means we can charge a little bit more because there's limited space. We have a great balance of I still have time to create organic content. We have repeat sponsors, which means they're happy with the return on their sponsorship investment. And I'm working with all companies that I believe in. So there's that trust with our audience. Again, if your audience sees you talking about one sponsorship one time, one brand sponsor one time, and never again because you never got paid again to talk about them, like trust gone. It's so much better for you, for the sponsor, for your audience to create an actual ongoing relationship with these sponsors. So that's kind of how we found our equilibrium on what to charge and how many sponsorships we have to fill. To be honest, like I'm not charging the most. I'm charging less than people that have more followers than me and, lower engagement than me. But I feel so good about the relationship I have with my audience and with my sponsors that, increasing our sponsorship rates once a year right now feels like the right tempo for us.
So for the sake of transparency and juiciness on the first episode of the pod, what do you charge for a story set?
What do I charge for a story set? Okay, so a story set includes 3 to 5 15-second stories. Now, we all know that stories don't automatically go into 15 seconds anymore, but for some reason, sponsors still like those 15-second stories. And I think it's because people's attention span are really short. And so even if you chunk it down to 15 seconds and you have multiple, then there's still a chance that your audience is going to see the next story or the next story because if they skip the first one, they're only missing 15 seconds. So A story set, 3 to 5 stories. Why do I feel so nervous about saying this number? Okay, I charge $15,000.
Which is industry average.
Okay, good.
It
Industry
is.
average.
I mean, Victoria and I worked on a rate with each other, you know, and Julia joined the conversation. And for so long, we were trying to figure out, like, is there just an equation we can give subscribers in our program to help them set their rates? And it's $10 CPM, cost per 1,000 followers, is pretty standard for beginning your rates with a story set. So that's pretty on par.
Okay, I feel so good. I do know a lot of people that are charging so much more for that. And I know a lot of people that are charging barely anything. And I feel scared on both accounts. Both accounts scare the crap out of me because I'm like, hey guys, we all need to be on board with this. We all need to kind of have similar rates. Now, obviously, there's variables in there, I understand, but if you're around industry average, I think you should feel really good about that. So, okay, say that formula one more time.
$10 per 1,000 followers, and that's base for a story set. And then we typically, this is also very insider information, we do a 30% increase from that for a carousel plus a story set, and then a 30% increase from that for a reel plus a story set. We never really recommend offering just a post or just a reel without stories because, one, the conversion isn't there. You can't put a link in. And two, it seems disconnected to put something in your feed that isn't going to be in stories. It's almost like it's going to be in stories anyway, so you may as well charge for it.
Yeah, totally.
One thing I remember you guys saying is that, like, there's a lot of risk to not charging enough, being that you'll get burned out. It's not sustainable. But the risk of charging too much is that influencer marketing is still so new and brands are still very sensitive about giving out marketing dollars to influencers. And so if they are being let down by influencers who are charging way too much and can't deliver, they're not as likely to keep going with the influencer marketing initiative that we're trying to build up.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the influencer marketing, I don't even think we're at the pinnacle yet. I think we're still climbing, and I think we still will be climbing for years to come. So when people are like, am I too late? Am I too late? I'm like, we're still setting up.
No.
Like there's still like rules being made because this is so new. Like, and good influencer is a part of setting those standards. I was going to say earlier, you know, part of the positive relationship that I have with these brands that, you know, I do give brands feedback on every single campaign that we do, whether it was, you know, positive, or if, especially if it's something that a product that like I couldn't use myself or didn't want to use, and I give them that feedback. I cannot tell you how many of those brands I now consult with. And it's because like those rules are still being made and they appreciate honest feedback. And so if you're not sure what to charge, you're in the right place, because at Good Influencer, like that's what we talk about. These kinds of conversations, the conversations that we want to be having, we want to be setting these standards and these rules. We want influencers to be successful, and we want brands to have amazing success working with influencers. One small thing that I always like tell influencers to do, and this is like free, but a great way to help influencer marketing, is when a brand, like after you buy something, sometimes a survey will pop up and it'll be like, how did you hear about us? Now an option is influencer. And I'm like, just click influencer. Just click influencer, because that is going to, all those little things help our literal like career. Like this is now a career. It's something that we are all working hard to legitimize. And it starts with how much are you charging? And it starts with how you speak to and about brands. And it starts with how your audience trusts you when you speak about brands.
Absolutely. So, key points, double your rates. If there's anything you take from this podcast, it may be time to reevaluate. And we do a lot of this in the mastermind. People will share their pages, and I can kind of give them some insights into what they should be charging based on their following. And then also your engagement is a little bit of a factor into that. We actually have a discount code for people watching the podcast. You can use code podcast to get 30% off your monthly rate to the Good Influencer subscription. And we also have our Race to 10K starting on April 14th. It's a 4-week challenge designed to help you reach your first or your next 10,000 followers. We only do it twice a year, and it's one of my favorite things that we do. So come join us. It's a mentorship designed to help you grow your audience, and we'll set your rates at the same time. So we'll see you guys next week, but in the meantime, you can catch up with us in the mastermind. Bye.